All right, guys, hope you're doing well. Let me just get you caught up where we're at. It's been about a week since I posted a video, which is going to be my normal schedule now, but I just needed a little bit of time to relax. So as we stand right now, we are done with what I would consider perhaps phase one. The structure of the camper is completed. Now we're going to move on to phase two or step two, which is going to be completing the interior. Inevitably, there will probably be some minor things I still do to the interior as we go on, like I'll be adding some marker lights and stuff like that. But at a core, the structure of the camper is done, and all of the various finishes are applied to the outside that's going to protect it against the weather. Okay? So where we've came from for the last video was I had added the planking on the side of the camper, and I was defining the roof line, and I had actually started putting the roof on and shaping it into place. So we'll pick up from there. A lot of the progress from that point till now, there is some time lapse, which I'll include at the very end of the video, but it was stuff that was a little bit hard to video, putting on the roof, for example, things like that. But I'll just kind of walk you through where we're at. So the roof is made out of 1/2-inch construction grade plywood. There's no need to go any thicker than 1/2 inch, and in fact it would hinder it because there is some slight bends that we had to shape the plywood to the roof shape with. And number two is it would add unnecessary weight. However, going with a lighter material such as a 1/4 inch, for example, would not be advisable because it would not be strong enough. So 1/2 inch seems to strike that perfect balancing point from my experience. It's made up of 4 sheets of that 1/2 inch plywood that are connected to the top. I shaped them as you guys saw in one of the previous videos. I added wet towels in places to assist in bending them, and then I essentially attached the boards with construction grade plywood and screws. From there, of course, I applied some simple automotive body automotive filler, or commonly known as Bondo, to fill in some of the knots or other little irregularities, gave the roof a good sanding, and then it was a time to apply the fiberglass. The fiberglass was 1.5 ounce woven mat. This time I diverged a little bit from the previous project where before I had used 6 ounce cloth. Now the fiberglass, when you lay it on the top, I actually rolled it over the edge of the top of the camper, which would be under where this trim is currently, okay? And then the purpose of that is that ultimately this trim was installed with that same caulking underneath it, so the water should run right off the top and down the side. But if the water were to run between the trim and that piece of fiberglass, it would only run and hit this wall, okay? So I put on the fiberglass, and that was quite a project for those of you who've worked with fiberglass before. On the top, I put a couple extra layers on the edges, and then I went through and installed the trim. And if those who've been watching, you guys noticed that I added a couple posts where I was designing with the trim design. And as you guys can see here, this is what I went to. Now, many people had offered their suggestions, and I appreciate it. That's exactly why this build series is being done as it is. Ultimately, though, I maintained the ultimate creative freedom on my side, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. Now, in the garage, it's really hard to get a good perspective of what the design of this camper is going to look like. Even to me, when I actually roll it out into the open and can see it from a distance, and specifically even when it gets on the truck, there might be some surprises. I mean, nothing dramatic, but just the general sense of the shape. I noticed that with 2.0 when I was building in the garage, so that's just kind of how it goes. But as you guys can see in this case, the window trim actually sticks out from the side of the camper by 1/2 inch, and this forms a lot more dimension within this camper and on the walls. And I think this is going to give it a lot more visual interest. So let me just kind of pan right here, and we can see what some of the looks are. Now, another striking feature, those who had seen 2.0 or my other camper, is the finish color, okay? So what I did is this is a Prolux PPG, what's it called, log cabin and siding. and it's a finish made for log cabins, okay, or siding. And I used the color which was butternut, okay. Now, according to their chart, from the best I could tell, it was about a shade darker than the cedar color that I used on Camper 2.0. I wanted to try something different. I'll admit this finish color came out quite a bit darker than I was anticipating, and but I like it. You know, one thing I found about these finishes on cedar is to get a real sense of the color it is, you need to have it out in the sunlight to really get a sense of what it is. And even with that being said, the color tends to change, and the richness of it and the depth of the color changes as lighting conditions change. So I'm happy with this. The jury is still out on whether I will like it more than the finished color I put on 2.0, but nonetheless, it is what it is. And my general impressions is I do like it. So, but I think this will basically hold back any judgment, good or bad, at this time, because we really won't get a sense for what the color of the real sense of the color and how this makes us look on the camper until sometime in the future when we get it out in the driveway. Okay, so but let me just take you guys on a little walk around here so you guys can see what we did. You guys can see that we got in the windows. The last live I talked about those. I got those in. There's a little bit of cleanup that I'll need to be doing on there and stuff like that as we go on. But here's the front. And then you guys can see the side here. Now my garage is a mess and we got a lot of space in there. But overall, I'm very, very pleased. I think down here, let me see if I'm capturing it here. Down there at the intersection at the bottom, you guys can see that 45 degree I was talking about. And you can see this panel right here, right there, and you can see this fluted edges and the dimension that adds with that trim going into the window. I think that's going to give that window placement a lot more of a balanced look than for example there on 2.0 what you can see. So because if you look here, it appears as though the window is kind of up a little higher, but if you look at kind of the effect that we have here, you can see that it, and again, this is when we get it out of the garage, this is going to give us a better sense, but it seems as though the window is a little bit more balanced in its position, and that's what I was going for. So, and then the roof we put on, so let me go back to the roof. Apologize guys, I got distracted there. So you lay the fiberglass, I put on the trim, I applied the finish on the camper, and then I finalized the roof, which was putting a coat of gel coat up there. If you guys can see this. This is a Fiberglass product, and it's known by the color of topaz. It kind of looks like a flat dark earth, or maybe a little bit lighter than a flat dark earth for those of you that are familiar with that color. It's something that you see a lot in the firearms industry. So in a nutshell, the outside is done. We're going to be moving on to phase 2, which is the interior. The first step of that's going to be getting some electrical in, which I will talk about next week, but I'm going to have some marker lights on this, wiring in the vent fan and the lights in there. And then we'll start the long, arduous process of installing the insulation. So guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like, share with friends, and I will include a little bit of time lapse at the end of this. Thank you.